there and stock us with a contract that would harm us for decades into the future. They sold our patrimony.
This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day. Welcome to your news at noon right here on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. These are the top stories we're tracking. Opposition submits motion for comprehensive studies on $900 million gas to shore project. Exxon CEO hauled before U.S. Committee on Climate Change misinformation, and WHO climate change report points to Guyana's vulnerability to rising sea levels. Get the full details of these stories and more after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And now for the news in detail. Opposition member and Shadow Minister for the Petroleum Sector, David Patterson, submitted a motion to Parliament this week which calls for an independent and comprehensive set of studies on the PPPC government's $900 million gas to shore project. The initiative, which will feed off of approximately 50 million standard cubic feet of gas per day from the Liza Phase 1 and 2 projects in the Stabroek Block, is expected to come on stream by 2026. In the meantime, Patterson has challenged the decision of the PPPC government to have the landing of the pipeline from the offshore Liza projects to Wales as being baseless, since there is no data or study that publicly exists to support such a decision. In his motion, Patterson outlined that the Wales location will require a 110-kilometer-long pipeline to be laid along the seabed, as well as 27 kilometers on land, which will pass through residential, commercial, and agricultural zones. The parliamentarian said, too, that no investigation nor study has been conducted to understand the environmental and safety risks from pipeline leaks and ruptures. And now let's tell you, ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods was among a number of top oil executives hauled in to testify in the U.S. House Oversight Committee over their alleged roles in the spreading of misinformation with regards the risk surrounding fossil fuels and its link to climate change being experienced globally. Woods, in his testimony, however, denied the assertions as he and other oil company chief, countered congressional allegations that the industry concealed evidence about the dangers of it. Woods said ExxonMobil has long acknowledged the reality and risks of climate change, and it has devoted significant resources to addressing those risks. Woods was among top officials from 4 major oil companies testifying yesterday as congressional Democrats investigate what they describe as a decade-long industry-wide campaign to spread misinformation about the role of fossil fuels in global warming. And moving on, Guyana is particularly vulnerable to rising sea levels stemming from climate change, plus regional shifts in the heights of the sea. A 2020 World Health Organization report on climate change explains that according to the report, Guyana's initial national communication to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change states that the sea level along the Atlantic coast is projected to rise by about 40 centimeters by the end of the 21st century. This means the sea is rising at a fast rate of 2 to 4 millimeters each year, counting the entire century. The report explained that from 1951 to 1979, sea level of Guyana's coast rose at a rate of some 5 times the global average and around 6 times the 20th century average, or 3 times the 1993 to 2009 annual average. Moreover, the document states that the contribution of meltwater from land ice would increase the rate of rising sea level to approximately 60 centimeters by the end of the next century. And moving on, ESSO has confirmed in its latest Cradle to the Grave waste management analysis that it is dumping a quantity of waste produced from its offshore operations overboard. This is in addition to sending, after treatment, hazardous waste to the Hague's Bosch landfill behind Eccles. Identified among the waste that is dumped overboard on a regular basis is bilge water that has 15 parts per million hydrocarbon oil treatment. In addition to the highly dangerous produced water, ESSO said it is also dumping overboard treated sewage, food waste and other materials including cement, barite, bentonite, calcium carbonate, gravel pack and sand. According to the company, not all of the hazardous waste is treated and dumped, since some is sent back to shore where it is offloaded at the Ghana Shore Base Inc., where it is received by Ramps Logistics. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will return after the break.
Diana, join me on the Glenn Lal Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast at 11 a.m. The Glenn Lal Show only on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM.
Let's continue with the news right here on Kaieteur Radio. Aurora Gold Mines, piloted its Chinese owner Jijin Mining Inc., is about to commence underground mining operations next month. At least this is what the company's Department of Corporate Office, Compliance and Government Relations related after its local employees noticed that new living quarters were being constructed at AGM to house 150 workers. There are currently 1,000 employees working at AGM, of which over 800 are Guyanese. Jijin added that the reason behind the decision to increase its workforce is because another phase of its mining operation is about to get underway. One of the personnel from the company's corporate office explained that the Chinese nationals that are being brought in, he said, are to train the locals to do the underground mining. And now let's tell you, even as plans continue to ramp up for massive oil production offshore in the Stabroek Block, President Ali is still pushing ahead with efforts for a clean energy economy by 2030. Just yesterday, Ali launched his new low-carbon development strategy, which will be subjected to a 4-month-long consultation process. The president was keen to note that the LCDS 2030 advances a vision first articulated in 2008 by then President and now Vice President Bharat Jagdeo. Dr. Ali shared that the vision was further developed in 2009 when it was encapsulated in the world's first low-carbon development strategy from a developing country. Though the vision was born some 12 years ago, Ali said it remains valid today. Meanwhile, confessed killer Kapildio Gangadin yesterday reportedly waited until all the prisoners at the Lusignan prison were accounted for before making his escape from the quarantine section by using a cloth pole to scale a back fence. Gangadin confessed to investigators that he killed 2 men, 19-year-old Ganesh Prasad and Mukesh Mangra, and was remanded to prison on Wednesday, October 20th for both murders. However, the 24-year-old convict was earlier today recaptured. And 3 weeks after the permanent secretary attached to the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs was caught in a sting operation collecting a bribe from a contractor, the police are still awaiting legal advice on the matter. This is according to Crime Chief Wendell Blanham. 42-year-old Sharon Hicks was arrested at her Kwamina and Thomas Street's South Commingsburg office on Thursday, October 7th, during a police operation. Also, the public relations officer for the DPP chambers, Liz Rahman, confirmed that the file is still with the chambers. The sting operation was set up after a businessman who usually provides security services to the ministry reported to the police that the PS was demanding money from him before she signed off on his invoices. Hicks and the businessman's father had a deal in which she would help him secure a contract with the ministry, and in return, he pays her $200,000 a month. Hicks was later sent on leave pending the outcome of the investigation. And now for your COVID-19 update, followed by the page 7 of the Kaieteur News as usual, dedicated to being blunt. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, yesterday revealed that the National COVID-19 Task Force is considering implementing a fully vaccinated mandate for persons desirous of visiting the country and for persons living here. The minister, who made the announcement during his latest COVID-19 update, said that the fully vaccinated requirement is becoming a mandate that most countries are requesting now from travelers wanting to enter their borders. According to the minister, the task force is considering changing the definition of vaccinated to mean fully vaccinated, which is having taken both doses. And the Ministry of Health yesterday reported that 4 more persons who contracted COVID-19 have died, taking the national death toll to 904. According to the Health Ministry, the country's latest fatalities involve 3 unvaccinated persons and a fully vaccinated person. Those who succumbed to the virus were 2 men, a 64-year-old from Region 10 and a 67-year-old from Region 4, and 2 women, a 56-year-old and a 58-year-old, both from Region 4. Further, in its latest COVID-19 dashboard, the ministry recorded 98 new cases, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 35,350. 23 patients were admitted into the ICU, with another 70 in institutional isolation, plus 2,832 in home isolation, and 10 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 31,521 recoveries have been recorded. A bad deal is a bad deal, regardless of who is in power. That is what Ms. Melinda Janke said, and we fully agree with her. Why are PPPC government supporters now tongue-tied? Why do Guyanese tie themselves into knots over elections and other stupidities while our leaders are lying to us? Our leaders, it would seem, are doing nothing about the bad oil deal, other than bowing down to Exxon. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Fellow Guyanese, after the newscast at 12 noon every day, I am dedicating some clips with extremely important information pertaining to Guyana's future. Please, I beg you, take some time and listen to them. It is for your interest and future generations. This is a message